Greetings in Jesus' wonderful name and welcome to Riverside Chats. I began a series on the Sermon on the Mount and I want to continue with that series today. We are looking at historical examples of sacrificial giving. I had this caption on the last program, one of George Mueller. George Mueller lived from 1805 to 1898. He was a German who came to England, and later he married an English woman. And most of his ministry was around Bristol, England. God had anointed him to start orphanages and help thousands of orphans who were rescued from a life of violence and debauchery. He ran orphanages, like I said, in England, that cared for thousands of children. George Mueller was a man of prayer. He was a man of faith. It's good to read his biography. His biography would be very beneficial to stimulate your own faith. Now, he never asked for any money publicly. He prayed in secret, and God supplied every need. You know, at one time, the kids had nothing to eat. There was nothing to give them. They sat around the table, and they said grace and thank God for the food that was going to come. And there was a knock on the door just after the prayer. The bakery vehicle had broken down and they had all this fresh bread. And they gave it to the orphanage. Another time, they didn't have anything to eat and they prayed. And God provided lots of good meat for them. Yes, he never asked money publicly, but God provided thousands. In today's money, it would be millions or maybe billions of pounds through his hands. He built orphanages, extended orphanages, built new ones. The work he was doing was so valuable. You know, God has called us to be salt of the earth, to flavor the community, to make it better, to purge the community, to make the world a better place. You don't have to advertise your needs. Some people advertise their needs. They're very good at advertising their needs. And they do it in prayer. And they can pray like the Pharisees. Lord, I had nothing to eat. Lord, my children were hungry. And they advertise that through prayer. That is not the place to do that. God should know about your need. Tell God in secret. In George Mueller's ministry, many donors gave anonymously. They didn't want their names known. Or there are some people who give large amounts of money, but they don't want their names known at all. Especially those who give to colleges, as those who give endowments, and those who help the poor. You know, I'm not putting you down. If you give and the person know that you're the giver, there's nothing wrong with that. Giving is something that God admires and rewards. If you give, it'll be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will God give to your bosom. You know, we are supposed to give a tithe of 10% of all that we earn. Then we need to give above the tithe offerings. Someone said the tithe opens the windows of heaven, but what comes through the window is determined by what you give above the tithe. There's a lot of talk about money, and ministries have abused this. They say, you give to me, you give to my ministry, God will bless you. That's nonsense. Even if you give to the poor, you lend to the Lord. Giving should be in 3 areas. Give to the local church. I believe all the tithe should come to the local church. And then we need to give to missions, the evangelization and the spread of the gospel worldwide. Then we need to give to the poor. We need to be given in those 3 avenues. Are you giving in those areas? We all need a reality check. Then there was a Frenchman who lived from 1888 to 1969. His name was R.G. Letourneau. He was a Christian businessman who quietly gave away 90% of his income to missions and ministries. In America, there were also great names like Colgate, who owned the Colgate Palmolive company. He gave faithfully to the Lord. Then there was Woolworth and others like J.C. Penney, great philanthropists. Then there were people like the Rockefellers, rich people, Carnegie, the Vanderbilts. Rich people give, poor people give. You know, sometimes you think the best givers are the rich people. They give, like I told you, because they get tax breaks and they get a lot of recognition. But the church worldwide is mainly supported by ordinary working people who give out of sacrifice. I think there was a man in Korea who was pulling a plow, and a Christian tourist, asked him, "Why are you pulling the plow? Don't you have an animal to do that?" He said, "I had one, but I sold it and I gave the money to the church because I wanted to give something to the Lord." That's noble. This man, this French man, Letourneau, he preferred not to be known for his giving. He focused instead on God's work. Now, there are many people who give today. Many Christians quietly have paid for students' tuition or school supplies without the family knowing who helped them. What am I trying to communicate to you? When you give before God, not before men. Don't give for showmanship. Give so the Father could be praised in heaven. It's wonderful. I've been a recipient of the kindness of many people. I studied at various institutions. I had bursaries. The first school I studied was the Johannesburg Bible Institute, which was highly provided for by American money. It was a school started by the team mission. Then I went to the Baptist College in Southern Africa. For 4 years I had a bursary from the Centenary Fund. Actually, the Centenary Fund supported my ministry at JBI when I was a student there. So the Baptists paid for me for the most of my learning when I was in the Baptist church. They're very good about that. I didn't have to pay a lot because my school fees were paid for. And many of the people gave small amounts to make big amounts. Then when I came here to the United States for graduate work, doing my master's and my doctoral programs, I was highly seconded. I was highly subsidized by the International Mission Board of the Southern Baptist Convention. Today, a PhD would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, at least 100,000. But mine was merely less than 10,000 for the whole thing, for 4 years of study, highly subsidized. You see, people give in secret. And some people give large amounts into that fund, and many people give what they can afford, $5, $10. Today, there are also secret Santa givers. Especially at Christmas time, people quietly leave groceries, gift cards, or money for struggling families. They don't reveal their identity. Many local churches are helped by people anonymously. People give in secret, never wanting public thanks. You know, the greatest givers, they don't care if their names are remembered. They only care that God is glorified. You know, I know the prosperity doctrine is really scrutinized and people condemn it. But I tell you, God is a God of abundant, extravagant prosperity. If you give, it will be given to you. I think prosperity needs not be overemphasized, but you cannot deny that the most faithful people in the Bible were the most prosperous. Abraham was so rich that he had his own army. I think he had over 200 in his army. If you have your own army, and your own army wins battles against kings, when Lot was rescued, you pretty rich. When Eliezer took the dowry for Rebekah, when Laban saw all the glittering gold and jewels that was brought for the dowry, he got excited because he loved money. Jesus' teaching in Matthew 6, 1-4 reminds us that heaven keeps a record of what earth overlooks. What you give in secret, what you give before the Father in heaven, is not unnoticed. Are you a giver? Or are you a receiver? Do you like to be the recipient of what other people give? Or are you a giver? You're most like God when you're a giver. For God loves a cheerful giver. I hope this teaching on the Sermon on the Mount is being beneficial to you. It's not rocket science, it's just basic moral and ethical values that'll make us better people, better kingdom citizens. God bless you and love ya.